Side Hustle Show 250. This is Bitcoin 101, side hustle opportunities in the cryptocurrency revolution. What's up? Nick Loper here. Welcome to the Side Hustle Show, because big ideas always sound crazy at first. This week, we're diving into one idea that's become too big to ignore, for me at least, and that's Bitcoin, or more broadly, the concept of digital cryptocurrencies. What's hard to say is whether they're a passing trend or a passing fad, or if we're in the early days of restructuring what is money. Part of this is really interesting and exciting, like a global currency without borders. It's really futuristic, but I also don't fully understand how it works and where the opportunities might lie for entrepreneurs and side hustlers, aside from kind of the outright buy and hold speculation on it all. That's why I invited Ravinder Deol on the show. Ravinder is a certified Bitcoin professional, whatever that means, from England, who I met at a Side Hustle Nation meetup in Seattle. He hosts the Cryptocurrency and Blockchain School podcast at b21block.com, and he teaches more than 40,000 students on Udemy in 20 different blockchain and cryptocurrency courses. I figured if anybody could help me out on this stuff, it was going to be Rav. So stick around to hear what he sees as potential side hustle opportunities in this space, how to safely invest in cryptocurrencies, and by invest, I should probably say speculate, and maybe most interestingly, why it all matters. Notes, links, and a free PDF highlight reel with all of Rav's top tips from this conversation are at sidehustlenation.com/Bitcoin. Before we dive in, let me take a moment to thank our sponsor, a brand new sponsor to the show, Upside.com. Book your next business trip on Upside and get rewarded. This is actually really cool. So on top of the best available prices for flights, hotels, and rental cars, Upside gives you a gift card to places like Amazon.com for every trip you book. Give it a try today at Upside.com and use the code SIDEHUSTLE to get a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com when you book your next business trip. That's Upside.com for a more rewarding business travel experience, and promo code SIDEHUSTLE for that minimum $100 gift card on your first trip. There is a minimum purchase required, so please see the site for complete details. I'm also excited to introduce you to another new sponsor, FindSideGigs.com. I've always said freelancing or consulting is one of the fastest, cheapest, and most empowering side hustles to get off the ground. And Find Side Gigs is a free service that helps you do just that. They scour the internet every day for gig opportunities they believe can be done remotely and part-time. They also compile the contact and personal information for the decision maker of these gigs, so you can reach out with a personalized and attention-getting application or pitch. Sign up for free today at findsidegigs.com/sidehustle. That's findsidegigs.com/sidehustle for free side hustle opportunities direct to your inbox every week. Check it out. Let me know what you think. I'll be back with my top takeaways from this chat with Rav after the interview. He's going to kick us off with his definition of what Bitcoin is, but not before a little good-natured I told you so, since in the 4 weeks in between when we met and he was like, hey, you should buy some Bitcoin, and when we recorded this, the value had gone up more than 60%, which also highlights the volatility of these new currencies. Ready? Let's do it.
I hate to say, I told you so. But yeah, I mean, you would have been one very happy guy during this episode if you bought last month when we met, as soon as it's risen 66%. But yeah, what is Bitcoin? The easiest way to look at it, actually, a good little, I was flying back from America, so I was flying back to the UK, and I had this Bitcoin t-shirt on, and I was going through security, and the TSA guy goes, so what's Bitcoin? And I thought, is this a trick question? I was like, okay. But yeah, the easiest way for me to describe it is it's internet money. More kind of commonly now, it's referred to as digital gold, more seen as kind of, say, a store of value. But even for that, it's still pretty volatile. I mean, I know that we've said it had a really good month and it's risen like 66%. But even considering that, it is a very volatile store of value. So yeah, I mean, we have kind of two parties. One party seeing it as a digital gold, and another party seeing it as digital cash, in a sense.
But since it's risen so fast, it's not something that you personally are spending, right? It's just like a buy and hold strategy.
I do spend it, actually. So I spend it in the sense that people who go through my courses, I give them a small piece of Bitcoin to get started. I'm a big believer in kind of giving people Bitcoin to actually, so they understand how the process works. So when they receive it in the wallet, and it's kind of demystified then, and it's not just something, airy that people just talk about, they're actually holding some. So I do spend it in that sense, that I give it to students who go through my course. that's one way in which I spend it. I don't spend a lot, but I do spend it.
Okay. So it's internet money, it's digital gold, it's this idea of a currency, much in the same way that the United States currency is no longer backed by actual gold. It's just based on whatever somebody else is going to say that it's worth. And so it's maybe it's not that far of a stretch because I very rarely spend cash anyways. So it's, I guess, similar in that sense. But the cool thing about it, at least in my mind, is it's global. It's a global currency, not really controlled or backed by any government, which is interesting to me. I think that's kind of a fascinating thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a borderless currency. So, I mean, I could spend it right here. I could go to the United States. I could go to anywhere in the world, any country, any business that accepts Bitcoin. I could spend it there. And I mean, now we've got Bitcoin debit cards, which have come along. So basically with these, let's say, debit card providers, you just top your debit card up with Bitcoin. And then anywhere that accepts Visa cards, you can spend that debit card. So that basically opens up you being able to spend your Bitcoins anywhere in the world that accepts Visa.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I've even seen some big name companies like Microsoft, and I think Subway is like one that, you can buy your sandwich with Bitcoin now. What's the side hustle opportunity here? And we'll get into how to physically, probably not physically, how to digitally buy this stuff and how to safeguard your crypto wallet and all this stuff. But like, what do you see as the opportunity here? Is it just a purely kind of speculative investment, or where do you see people making money in this cryptocurrency economy?
A great kind of side hustle, and the initial one that comes to mind anyway, is a website. So it's called purse.io. So that's PURSE.io. And basically that website allows you to buy items, any item on Amazon, and get about 15 to 20% off. So there could be a good arbitrage opportunity there if you find the perfect item. So essentially buying it on purse.io with Bitcoin and then reselling it on a marketplace like eBay or even back on Amazon. So, I mean, that's kind of an opportunity there, which could be classed as a side hustle if you find the right product. I mean, it's harder than it sounds, but yeah, that's a good opportunity there.
So it says, so I'm on purse.io, save 15% off Amazon with Bitcoin. So this is what's in it for them and how do they offer that discount?
So basically, it's a peer-to-peer marketplace. So someone has to be wanting to selling Bitcoins and somebody has to be, basically it's people who earn Bitcoin. For example, let's say gift cards. So if you've got an Amazon gift card and you're getting an Amazon gift card every single month, if you want to then convert that into Bitcoin, you can offer that up on the Purse marketplace. And then, for example, if I come in and say, I don't know, let's say I want a new laptop, I can just search for that item on there. And if there's someone there who is matching that order, you then get matched. So they buy the item on your behalf. It gets put in kind of an escrow and it's kind of securely handled in that way. So that's basically how it works. And like I said, it's most of these people who are getting paid in Amazon gift cards and they're getting them every single month. So I know someone personally who gets paid in Amazon gift cards. I'm not entirely sure why, but they're getting Amazon gift cards as payment every single month from one of their clients. And they use Purse to then convert that into Bitcoins. So it's a pretty innovative way to use it. And that's basically how the marketplace works.
They're saying, I will take a 15% hit on the face value of that in order to convert it.
In terms of how does Purse actually manage to get such a discount?
Yeah, or the gift card seller.
So the person who's providing the gift card, they're actually paying quite a high premium for Bitcoin by trying to get Bitcoins off Purse.io. They are paying more than I would be if I went to an exchange and bought Bitcoins with my cash. It's just the only way for them to, at the moment anyway, convert that gift card into Bitcoins.
Is that different from the 15% that's advertised, or is it just a...
That premium part is from the person who's offering the gift card. So let's give a scenario so it's kind of a bit easier for everyone to understand. So let's say you want to buy a laptop. I've got an Amazon gift card. You place your order first on the Purse.io marketplace and say you want this laptop and you want it 10% off only. You don't want 15% off, you just want 10% off.
Okay.
I've got an Amazon gift card that I can then purchase your item with. So then I purchase your item and you pay me Bitcoins. And then obviously, of course, the item's then delivered to you directly by Amazon. And once it arrives, it's all kind of dealt with in the escrow saying you've got the item. And then I get my Bitcoins from there. But I'd pay a premium to get those Bitcoins. So it wouldn't be at market rate.
Okay, so basically they're paying full price for the laptop and then collecting 10% less in the current Bitcoin exchange rate.
In essence.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. It's an interesting way to convert, convert Amazon gift cards into cash. And there's a niche for everything. Okay. What do you use to buy this stuff? If I say, okay, Rav, I want to get started. I wish I had gotten started a month ago. I want to buy a Bitcoin just to to get started to play around with this stuff. Like, do you go to Coinbase is one that I've heard of, or what do you like for the exchange?
It was at your meetup, actually, where one of the ladies there, her initial kind of, let's say, foray into Bitcoin was with Coinbase. And that's kind of the main site. Well, I'll say the largest site that people go to straight away. It's very easy to use. It's kind of simply, basically, like setting up an email address. You go in, set up an account, put your debit card or credit card in, and you can buy Bitcoin or Ethereum. So that's one site that a lot of people begin with. But when people start, let's say, collecting more Bitcoins and start getting a substantial amount, I always recommend transferring out of Coinbase simply because you don't own the private keys or you don't control the private keys for your wallet with Coinbase. And the private keys is absolutely crucial to control because that kind of dictates that you own those Bitcoins. So, for example, if your hard drive crashed, you could then get another computer, set it up, put your private key in, and essentially you get your coins back. And with Coinbase, you don't get control of your private keys. So it's what we call a hot wallet in terms that it's constantly connected to the internet, which makes it vulnerable to hackers.
Okay. Is there a reason they don't give you control of those private keys?
It's just the way Coinbase operates. I mean, there's plenty other wallets which do. For example, we've got Exodus, and there's kind of a plethora of other wallets out there which do give you control of your private keys. But yeah, that's just the kind of way Coinbase operates. And I've seen kind of Coinbase anyway place a lot of limitations on people who want to buy a substantial amount of Bitcoin. So if you are investing quite a bit, that probably wouldn't be the best place to go for you. But if you just want to kind of, let's say, dip your toes into the world of Bitcoin, it'll be kind of a great place to start.
Okay. And then how much is a significant amount? Like at what point would you be uncomfortable holding your cryptocurrency inside Coinbase?
I mean, that's a really personal question for someone. I mean, how much is a lot? I mean, £100 could be a lot for someone in another part of the world. Or, for me, if I was just starting again, I mean, anything over £1,000, I'd just take out of Coinbase.
Okay. And move it to something like Exodus. Is it exodus.com?
Exodus.io. So I'd use a wallet like Exodus, but then if you do have, let's say, a very large amount, so perhaps let's say 10,000 plus, then I'd kind of consider getting a hardware wallet like Trezor or the Ledger Nano S wallet. So these, like I mentioned, are hardware wallets, and these aren't connected to the internet in any way whatsoever. So they're not vulnerable to hackers, which is perhaps one of the most common ways that people lose their Bitcoins or cryptocurrencies.
Does it make it any harder to eventually spend or redeem the money you have stored on a hardware wallet?
I mean, it's pretty easy now with kind of the Trezor wallets. They're very small, so they're compact devices. You simply plug it into your laptop and you can then send and receive Bitcoins. But most people use kind of the hardware wallets for kind of just storing. So kind of the people who are holding for the long term, they'll just store their large amounts on there. And then if you want to have a certain amount to spend, perhaps keeping that on a desktop wallet like Exodus, and then perhaps an even little amount in Coinbase. So, I mean, there's no problem with having a range of wallets and each wallet serving its own purpose. So one for long-term investing, one for perhaps mid-range spending, and one for just kind of little purchases that you might be doing here and there. So there's no problem with that at all. And that's something that I do.
Okay. Is it a physical, like an external hard drive type of thing?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I've got one right here, and you'll be actually surprised at how very small it is, the Trezor wallet. It's a kind of a proper hardware device.
Okay. And it's just like, don't lose that, because if you do, it's game over.
Yeah, basically. But also, you get 12 words, which is essentially kind of your private key. So if you do lose that device, you've got to make sure that you keep these 12 words safe. So you've got to find somewhere which is kind of personal to you and no one else knows where this place is. So yeah, you've got to keep that safe, and then also the 12 words safe, and keep, like I said, keep your private key safe, because if someone gets hold of your private key, they can basically theoretically get control of your wallet. So yeah, security is a major part. It's basically like being your own bank. So you have to take those precautions.
Okay, tell me about this 12-word private key thing. So say, okay, I lose my hardware wallet, I lose this physical device, or somebody breaks into my house, steals it. What would I do with this 12-word key? Like, where does that come from? Like, what would I do with that to go and say, okay, I still have my coins?
Sure. I mean, so basically, when you set up a wallet, I'll give the Exodus.io example again. When you're setting that up, you'll be given a random selection of 12 words. Now, these words are completely random. And some people might be thinking, why can't I just kind of write down the 12 random words or think of 12 random words and type it into the wallet? And that's because basically, just as humans, even though we think we're being random, we're actually pretty predictable. So this wallet does pick out 12 completely random words. And these random words, let's say my laptop crashed, my hard drive was gone. I could get another laptop, install that wallet again. And if I input these 12 words, that'll then back up my wallet. So yeah, it's just about keeping those 12 words safe. And like I said, they're completely random. And it's not something that we kind of, let's say when we're setting up the wallet, we don't input those words. They're automatically generated for us.
Okay. And with the Trezor hardware wallet example, would I be able to recover it similarly with a new unit?
Yeah, you would indeed. So the good thing about Bitcoin and those actually controlling your private keys is if you wanted to move to another wallet provider, that would be possible as well with your 12 words. So, I mean, you don't have to worry about, let's say, a wallet provider going down and, you stored your coins on there, but you had those private keys. You can then just go to another wallet provider, input those private keys, and you'd get your coins back.
Because there's some like centralized database that's maintaining all this stuff?
Yeah, so it's the blockchain. So it's a decentralized database, essentially. And then you've got all these nodes connected to it, verifying transactions. So with the blockchain, you can go right back to the very first transaction. And something that surprises many people is that Bitcoin doesn't actually exist. I mean, I don't want to confuse anyone, but it doesn't actually exist. It's just a record of transactions saying basically this was sent from your wallet and that was sent out. So this must mean that you hold this many Bitcoins. It doesn't exist. It's just a record of transactions.
Like,
I think I might be confusing you a little here.
Yeah, half of the stuff is going over my head. Well, what's interesting to me is there's a finite supply, right? You told me there's only ever going to be 21 million coins created. And for a time, there were people making money mining them, I guess, by solving complex math problems, with big data centers and computers and stuff, or even some people doing it, in their garage with specialized like mining machines. Is that something that makes sense as now the value has increased? Like, is that a viable thing to try and do?
So with your first kind of question, only 21 million Bitcoins can ever be created. And estimated year for those to actually all be created is the year 2140. So, I mean, it will be kind of way past my lifetime.
Going to be outside of our life. Now, who dictated that? They said, well, we're only ever going to make 21 million. Like, it seems kind of an arbitrary thing.
Yeah, it was just kind of created when Bitcoin came along. That was kind of hardwired in, saying that only 21 million Bitcoins can ever be created. And as time goes by, it'll be harder and harder to create each Bitcoin. And that links me on to what you mentioned about, is it possible to set up hardware and mine Bitcoin? And now it's just so difficult that it's not worth it at all for someone at home to buy a mining machine and start mining.
What do you mean difficult? Like, it's like searching for bigger and bigger prime numbers? What makes it hard?
So the computer has to solve an algorithm, and it's just too difficult for a laptop or a GPU to solve. You need a dedicated mining machine, so like an ASIC mining machine. And they use a lot of energy, naturally, to try and solve it. So it wouldn't make it worth your while to, for example, for me to mine it here in the UK or for you to mine it there in the USA. The electricity cost is just so expensive. It just wouldn't be possible at all. Whereas we have people in countries like Iceland mining Bitcoin from there, as well as China as well, which predominantly mines the majority of the Bitcoins now. These countries are kind of where most of the mining is done nowadays.
Is there a single person who invented this? Is there like, Alexander Hamilton, it's like the Treasury Secretary who, okay, I decree there shall be 21 million Bitcoin and here's how it works. Like, it seems very mysterious.
Exactly. And this is the part where people who are getting very new to Bitcoin, and when I come out with this answer, generally think it's a scam.
Okay. So brace yourselves.
Definitely. So Bitcoin, the founder's anonymous, which is kind of the easiest way to put it. There have been people who have come out and said that they're the founder of Bitcoin, but to date, there's not been kind of a certain person that we can point to and say, okay, that's the person that created Bitcoin, or that's the group of people who created Bitcoin, because we just don't know really. We know the name, which is Satoshi Nakamoto, which is published on the white paper, but we don't know if that's a pseudonym. We don't know if it's one person. We don't know if it's a lady. We don't know if it's a group of people. We just don't know. And to be honest, it doesn't really matter because Bitcoin is controlled by every node connected to the network.
What's in it for Satoshi Nakamoto to have these complex algorithms solved?
For Bitcoin, so with Bitcoin, as I mentioned, only 21 million can ever be made. And kind of the reason to make it more difficult is because that all the Bitcoins then can't be created in one go. There'll be constantly nodes, as we call them, which are basically computers connected to the network, trying to solve this algorithm to earn Bitcoins. And those nodes are also processing transactions in the network. So part of the reason for making it more difficult is that there's always kind of an involvement. So nodes are connected to the network, they're processing transactions, and they're creating new Bitcoins essentially, which are then distributed out to the network.
If I want to say I'm a business owner, I'm a freelancer, like if I want to accept Bitcoin in my business, I can do it through this Bitcoin debit card, or is there another processing angle? Like I want to be cool and trendy and, with all the cool, like I'm way past Venmo. I'm taking Bitcoin now. Like, is there a service that, allows you to like do that on your website? Or I don't know, like, is there like a Square type of reader for your phone or something?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'd say Coinbase is kind of the easiest way for people. So, I mean, if you've got a side hustle, you've got a website and you want to accept Bitcoin, maybe that's kind of an easy way for them to get involved with Bitcoin. Instead of purchasing their own, they can accept it. So, I mean, an easy way to do that is via Coinbase. So Coinbase actually provide a button, and it's very similar in terms of how PayPal provide a button that you put on your website and then people pay via PayPal.
Yeah.
Coinbase provide a button and then people can pay via Coinbase, and that will just be then deposited into your Coinbase wallet. So if anyone's looking to accept Bitcoin as a form of payment, it's super easy to do now. And Coinbase will be the place that I recommend people to go initially anyway.
Tell me about Steemit. It's Steemit, Steemit, where, so I've seen Rob Cubbin posting about this, and you earn money posting videos? Like you're kind of getting paid to do content creation?
The easiest way to look at it is kind of Reddit. And that's the way I look at it. It's kind of Reddit, but you get paid for your content. And I don't think the comments are as harsh as Reddit either.
Okay.
But yeah, it basically works on the same presence as Reddit does in terms of your content gets upvoted and downvoted. But the difference is if your content gets upvoted, you earn cryptocurrency. Now, if you go on the website and people look, they'll see the dollar amounts next to it. So, I mean, I'm on the website right now and there's an article here which says creating accounts with DSteam. And it says that it's earned $457. Now, that won't be paid out in dollars. It will be paid out in Steem, which is their cryptocurrency, which you then can convert to Bitcoin. But that's basically the way it works. And if you get someone with, let's say, a more established account upvoting your content, you earn more in rewards. So kind of the goal is to go into the site and kind of, let's say, build a partnership with someone who has a very reputable account and get them to upvote your content. So it helps give you a kickstart, really. Otherwise, you'll just get kind of drowned in all the new content because a lot of people are getting involved in it now.
Does it matter what you're posting about? Do you have to, or is it just like anything?
I've seen the most random post on there, but as with any kind of, let's say, blog or content publishing, if you can kind of keep it within your niche and post about something relevant, that'll just keep people coming back for more.
Okay.
And kind of coming back to your post and liking your post and reading it regularly. So the best way to look at it is, as a blog, you want to keep people engaged and post about things that you know about and what engage people.
Yeah, here's one about the movie The Natural, my favorite aging athlete movie, and my Roy Hobbs glove. There seems to be a lot about the Steam It platform themselves. Here's one about beef noodles. So, like, the Natural movie one has been upvoted 250 times, $274. So this guy made, if he cashes this out or if he converts that to the equivalent in Bitcoin, has made the equivalent of $274 for making this one movie. But who's paying for, like, where does that money come from?
I mean, it'll be interesting to see how kind of long-term the Steam It project is. So when you're upvoting content, it just comes from that like. So when you're liking it, you're essentially giving some Steam currency to that person. And that's coming from Steam. It's not coming from your account. But when you upvote content, when you get it upvoted, that then goes into your account. But there is a delay. We've got similar projects coming along as well, a little bit similar. So we've projects like Akasha.world, which work on a similar premise, but on the Ethereum blockchain. It's a very interesting project. I mean, Steam It. It's something which, a lot of people can get involved in as a side hustle. One thing they should be aware of is that when they sign up, it generally isn't instant in terms of signing up and then posting straight away. There's a bit of a delay in getting your account approved before you can start posting on there. So yeah, that's definitely one thing to keep in mind.
Are they selling ads against these videos? Like, where's the $274 coming from?
It's all provided via Steam. I mean, this is one of the, I haven't personally looked too much into the project. I did post on there when it was brand new, and I don't focus too much of my attention on there. One of the things I'm very hesitant of is people looking at this ecosystem, so the whole cryptocurrency ecosystem, and looking at it as a get-rich-quick scheme. And I think that's one of the reasons, Steam It is attracted to so many, because they look at it and think, wow, $1,000 for that post, I could write something like that. But then they write something, they put it on there, and it gets like a cent. So yeah, it's an interesting site and it's an interesting model. Like I said, it's not the first time we've had a social network come along, essentially paying people to post content. But yeah, it's an interesting site, and one some people should check out. But personally, I don't post too much on there.
Okay. Well, it might be worth checking out. It's an interesting concept for sure. I don't fully understand their business model, so it remains to be seen. Maybe they're just giving away a bunch of venture capital money. Who knows what's going on? So you mentioned, we've been talking about Bitcoin. You mentioned Ethereum. Between the two of those, and there's dozens of other cryptocurrencies. Like I could say, I could start side hustle coin or something right now. Is there a major difference between those two, and like which one do you see being viable long term, or none of these? Like maybe there's something we haven't even heard of, like that's going to become the primary one.
So before kind of I go into this, if people want a great resource to kind of look at all the cryptocurrencies, I generally use coinmarketcap.com. That's what I'm looking at right now. So yeah, the most valuable cryptocurrency by far, without a doubt, is Bitcoin. Secondly, we have Ethereum. Now, the difference between those is that Bitcoin is, as I mentioned earlier, classed as a digital cash or digital gold as by some, whereas Ethereum is more of, let's say, targeting, let's say, app developers. So it's a decentralized application platform. So you don't have to publish applications on, let's say, Apple, Google, and stuff like that and have it centralized in that sense. You can publish upon the Ethereum blockchain and have your application decentralized, with your code generally being open source. And then we've got other cryptocurrencies such as Ripple, which is kind of a payment processing site. And most of the coins with them are owned actually by Ripple. So that's an actual company. And they've gone pretty fast actually now. RIPPLE. So that's Ripple.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah, we've got such others, Litecoin, Dash, IOTA, which is kind of the Internet of Things cryptocurrency. And I mean, the list goes on. I mean, at the moment, we've got about, well, right at this moment, 865 cryptocurrencies.
Jeez.
So if anyone thinks that it's just Bitcoin out there, it's definitely not.
Now, are you diversifying your holdings across a ton of these, or are you kind of focusing on a few?
So initially, I used to think I'll start diversifying among loads of different cryptocurrencies. But once you start learning more and more about the ecosystem, it's kind of a few that hold the whole ecosystem up. So a lot of the cryptocurrencies, you only can buy them with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. So Bitcoin's, let's say, the entry to those coins. So if Bitcoin rises, they rise. But the reason I don't invest in 865 of them, is because they don't have any real purpose behind them other than being created to trade for a quick profit.
Okay.
I only really invest in coins where there's actually a real purpose behind it, and they've created that coin to fund, let's say, a certain project. Or, for example, we've got Ethereum, which helps, well, Ether is the kind of runs that whole platform. So gas is paid for transactions and so on when you're processing in applications that you've created upon Ethereum. But yeah, kind of my ethos anyway with this ecosystem is that I only invest in cryptocurrencies where there's actually a real value behind it, and it's not just another coin created to be traded for a quick profit. Because long term, as we know, that's not going to hold any value.
Let's get a little philosophical here. Like over the next,
Sure.
say, 50 years, 100 years, under what scenario do you see this going to zero? And under what scenario do you see like, hey, we're in the very, very early days, like this could be worth 100 times what it's worth today?
Yeah, I mean, it's very early days. So it came along kind of like 2008, 2009, 2010. So let's say it's been around for 7 or 8 years. That's nothing for a currency.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, in theory, it could drop to zero tomorrow. The likelihood of that happening is, it's not very high. But in theory, it could drop to zero tomorrow. I'm in this for the long term.
There's been a couple significant crashes, first kind of in 2014 and then, a pretty healthy dip earlier this year, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, Bitcoin crashes, I mean, they come and go. I mean, we've seen kind of the first one, which was when Bitcoin kind of rose to $1,000 and it went just above. And then it kind of crashed. And you see in the press all the time, Bitcoin, that's the end of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's never coming back. But then it rises again. And it's just kind of this to and fro with Bitcoin. And that's the reason I mentioned that it's very volatile.
Do you see any sort of like world events that, like, is it tied? Like, what's it tied to? Like the rise and fall, just supply and demand? Like we're not able to produce we're not able to mine the remaining whatever's left of the 21 million based on how many people want to get in the game. Like, is that what's causing the rise? Like in the last 30 days?
Well, in the last 30 days specifically, we've been seeing kind of a rally of Bitcoin's price going up, and that was partly due to SegWit being activated. So, and then we also had kind of the increase in block size. I don't want to confuse people now, but Bitcoin did fork. So now we have another version of Bitcoin called Bitcoin Cash. But then previously, if you look at, let's say, a very historical event, political-wise, let's say Brexit, which comes to mind straight away.
Okay.
The price of Bitcoin rose pretty much instantly as soon as Brexit was announced, the price of Bitcoin. And kind of any, let's say, real negative event worldwide in kind of mainstream politics and stuff, it kind of helps Bitcoin. So, I mean, I don't know how people want to look at that. But yeah, it does. Generally, if you look at the price patterns, Bitcoin's price generally does rise when we see events such as Brexit and President Trump coming into power in the United States. I mean, we've seen Bitcoin kind of rise with stuff like that, where people have thought that it wouldn't kind of be such a positive event in kind of, let's say, the traditional currency sense. So Bitcoin's value rises as it's seen as an alternative.
Okay, so as things look, or as the unexpected events happen, or as governments look less stable, this government-less currency looks more attractive.
Definitely. I mean, India's a good example of that, actually. So they banned I believe it was the 2,000 rupee note not so long ago, last year. And as soon as they did that, Bitcoin's interest rate, so the search volume for Bitcoin in India rose by I think it was 20 to 30%, literally overnight. So a lot of people were looking at it as an alternative because they didn't feel safe leaving all their money in a bank in India. So they're looking at alternatives. So, I mean, that's just proof right there that people were looking at it as an alternative.
Interesting. Okay. Well, Rav, this is fascinating stuff. I know we're just scratching the surface of this. So if you want to learn more, check out Rav's site at b21block.com and check out the podcast Cryptocurrency and Blockchain School. I've got obviously a lot to learn, and he's the guy to do it. Also, tons of courses on Udemy if you want to dive into this stuff. And he's giving away free cryptocurrency when you sign up for his courses. So who knows, that could be a significant chunk of change there too. So Rav, thank you so much for joining me. Let's wrap this thing up with your number one tip for Side Hustle Nation.
What I do now started off as a side hustle, teaching about cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and blockchain. And the one thing that really sticks with me is just literally, I know it might sound you might hear it quite a bit, but just to get started. A lot of people procrastinate at certain stages. Okay, this isn't correct, that's not correct, it's not perfectly recorded or edited. But the best advice for me anyway is just to get started. Take that first step over just kind of constantly procrastinating and trying to get the perfect end result, because there isn't a perfect. So yeah, definitely just take that first step and get started.
Oh, very cool. Just get started. Rav, thanks so much for joining me, and we'll catch up with you soon.
No problem. Thank you for having me. And yeah, if anyone's in the Side Hustle Nation group and yeah, they have any questions at all, feel free to tag me in. I'm more than happy to answer any of the questions there.
Love it. Thank you. If you travel for business, you know it's a game of wins and losses. Scoring an exit row seat, that's a big win. Sleeping through your wake-up call, that's a loss. But buying your business trip at Upside.com, well, that's not just a win, it's a triple win. Number one is Upside has the absolute best available prices for flights, hotels, and rental cars. Win number two is that Upside is actually going to reward you with a gift card to places like Amazon.com every time you buy a business trip. How cool is that? Shoot, you could go on purse.io, like Raph said, and turn that gift card into Bitcoin. And win number three is the amazing 6-star treatment you get from Upside's customer service specialists. They call them navigators. One recent Upside customer was called away for this emergency meeting. He had to miss his wife's birthday. Not a good situation. So an Upside navigator sent her flowers to try and help ease the disappointment. Now, how often do you see that kind of treatment from a travel company? So let's start your 6-star treatment right now. Go to Upside.com and use my code SIDEHUSTLE, and you'll get a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com when you buy your next business trip. That's Upside.com and promo code SIDEHUSTLE for a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com. Upside.com for a better business trip. Minimum purchase required. Please see site for complete details. So after this chat with Rav, I did end up going over to Coinbase and buying my first Bitcoin, actually my first fraction of a Bitcoin for the sake of transparency. If you want to check it out, you can actually get a $10 bonus when you go through my affiliate link at sidehustlenation.com/Coinbase. Lately, I've been trying to buy cash flow investments, and this definitely doesn't fit the bill for that. The only way it's going to cash flow is if it goes up in value and then you sell some off. But if you have some idle cash and you're bullish about the future of this futuristic digital global money, there's a buy and hold play there. So here are my top takeaways from this chat with Rav. Number one is money is really only worth what the next guy or girl thinks it's worth. There's a lot of technology I don't fully understand, and I'll be the first to admit it, that's behind Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But one thing seems to be true, and that's more and more people are becoming aware of it, and more companies are accepting it as currency. And I think the more mainstream it becomes, the stronger it gets, right? But like most other currencies that aren't backed by precious metals, there's this collective understanding that if I accept this dollar, this pound, this peso, this euro, I'm going to be able to turn around and buy something of similar value with it tomorrow. And that's the gray area with cryptocurrencies because the value is so volatile. It might be worth way more tomorrow, or the world might decide this whole thing was a huge scam and it could be worthless. Takeaway number two is trends mean opportunities. Rav is an example of this. He's riding the rising tide in interest in digital currencies with his Udemy business, which started as a side hustle and is now his full-time operation, his full-time focus. Toni Anderson said it on the podcast a year ago regarding her e-commerce business in essential oil jewelry. Find a hot trend and piggyback on it. Rav mentioned purse.io and Steemit as potential piggyback opportunities in this space, and I'm sure there are other opportunities out there as well. Takeaway number three is the rabbit hole goes deep. If anything, this conversation with Rav made me realize how much there is to learn about all this stuff. And that's one reason he's been able to produce 20 Udemy courses on it so far. But I think that's true of just about every side hustle. There's kind of this awareness phase, which is probably where I'm at on the Bitcoin stuff, and maybe you are too. There's the practitioner phase, which is maybe where I'm at on the blogging and podcasting stuff. And then there's the mastery phase. And there's always, in fairness, there's always going to be more to learn. And that's, I think, what makes it exciting. But takeaway number three, the rabbit hole goes deep. So find a hole that's interesting to you. If it's not Bitcoin, that's cool. But curious to hear what you think of this episode and your take on the whole cryptocurrency situation, revolution, whatever you want to call it. Let me know in the comments for this episode at sidehustlenation.com/Bitcoin. While you're there, be sure to download the free PDF highlight reel summary from this call with Rav. that's it for me. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, let's go out there and make something happen. And I'll catch you in the next edition of the Side Hustle Show, a special Friday edition for you tomorrow. That's all about a side project gone wrong. What happens when your side hustle fails? Because I think we learn more from our failures than our successes. We're talking lessons, takeaways, and next steps from a less than successful side hustle case study. I'll see you then. Hustle on.
Thanks for listening to The Side Hustle Show at www.sidehustlenation.com.